you want to be a mage or a fighter? I can show you how to be a shield.
Welcome to Tooth, Tail, and Talcum Powder. It's Thursday with wonderful Heavenly in the cast around the show. Hi. Before we go around and say hello to everyone, please take a moment to check out all of the links that are being spammed in chat, including social links, places you can find us, all of the places you can support us, sponsor information. Big thank you to Magehand Press and Bird and the Storm Publishing who make this all possible. Also, there is the tweet there. Please retweet the tweet because retweeting the tweet helps us expand the channel tweet and all that good stuff. Yeah, do the things. Let's go around and say hello to everyone. Why don't we start with the players this week? Why don't we start with Tommy? Oh, hi, Tommy.
Oh, hello. I was very prepared for that. Hi. I'm Tommy. I'm very thank you. I don't know how to do introductions anymore. It's been a long week. I'm very tired. Was there any? I can't remember. Do we do plugs at the beginning or at the end in this?
Beginning, because we have credits at the end.
Cool. I am Imperative Pengu on the Twitter sphere. I do tabletop RPG stuff across the interwebs. You can go to my Twitter. I have a postie there with when and where I'll be. I also do some video editing stuff, which you may see on certain channels. But yeah, I play Asuka, the sentient suit of armor, who can't speak and is losing their memories.
And we did absolutely nothing to your character last week. We actually didn't.
No.
We talked about doing things.
Did you see what Gerbil said?
I've not seen.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let's not worry about it.
So Gerbil suggested that they stuff a dead body inside of you because
Not quite how that works.
Well, you know,
and then we all kind of looked at you for a minute like, huh.
I mean, they are the right shape.
What did you kill this week? What did you kill last
Nothing.
week?
Remember, we found the mum. Remember, we found the human mum.
Why were you gonna stuff that inside of me?
We needed to get her out of the cave.
It made sense at the time.
Does no one have a bag of holding?
No. I am the bag of holding.
Well, next around we would normally introduce Gloss and Gadget's Leone. Leone is on Leone's way. They will be with us very as soon as they can. Yeah. But check out their Twitter at Gloss and Gadgets. I'm putting the link in now. And also check out Leone's channel, which is Gold Heart Gaming. Also linked in the channel there, and we'll say hello to them when they drop in. They're probably going to jump in halfway through, so we'll do like a quick, that will be probably mid-scene, and then after the scene, we'll be like, oh, hi. Next around, we have Shakespeare.
Oh, hi! So I am Shakes, also known as Shakespeare. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Shakespeare. It's the same handle everywhere, and nowhere else does it censor it. So that's good. you can find me on Tuesdays. I do a game over on Penflower Inc.'s channel, which is twitch.tv/Penflower, where I play a centaur, which is very fun. And I'm playing Mr. Blobby, who's the sentient ooze tourist, who's very eco-friendly and tidy and not at all creepy or scary. He's lovely. Loves hugs.
Oh, I see. Okay, we're gonna call out me for like trying to hide a body, but we're not gonna say anything about Shakes not being scary. Okay, got it. I see how
Not scary. He's slightly unsettling.
How many bodies have you consumed now?
3.
In canon, 3. so
In
far.
canon? In canon?
Like during the course of this adventure, 3.
Terrifying.
In general? Oh wait, also the first guy that you stabbed in the anus. That was off camera. I was just tidying up.
Ridiculous. Well, lastly, it's okay. Yeah, I guess it's still terrifying if you are mortal and don't think like a enzyme.
Yeah, true.
Lastly, but most certainly not leastly, our wonderful DM, the fantastic Heavenly. Hi.
Hi, it's me, Heavenly. 'Tis Aliens on Twitter. I'm just waiting for Gerbil to be the only one who doesn't describe his character as sentient. We have Asuka, who's a sentient piece of armor, and then we have this
ooze.
sentient ooze. Just waiting for Gerbil to be like, I'm a goblin.
Yeah, I'm a sentient goblin.
I'm a sentient goblin. I am a sentient. This is true. I am a sentient, or at least semi-sentient DM. Just here to make sure everyone has a good time. I feel like everyone's tired today. Today's a tired day. So we're just going to have a really emotional session, where I'm just going to ruin everything. We are going to have a nice session. Did you introduce your character, Scrat? Have you done your...
I totally didn't. I just did my links and then I was like, hey everyone, oh hi. I'm playing Gerbil Kent, who is a sentient goblin, who might also be an assassin.
Might be.
Is very definitely at this point.
2 anuses in canon. That's a bad thing to say,
We're
really.
pretty sure those aren't the only ones, though.
No kink shaming here.
No, there's no kink shaming. Just saying we're pretty sure those aren't the only ones.
To be fair, though, I think so far most of them in canon have been accidental stabbings, hence leading to the quote.
For their leg?
They were not accidental at all.
Okay, the second one. The second one wasn't accidental, but the first one was just supposed to be a bit of a stabbing, like...
Yeah, I only meant to give him a bit of a poke, and he just went right through.
All right. Okay.
You didn't roll like a nat 20 on like a berserk rage or whatever. So,
I think we know everything we need to know about Gerbil. He's so wholesome. He made Aristomache some horn jewelry. That was cute.
That was sweet. Weirdly sweet by turns.
Oh, and he started to die.
Stolen horn jewelry.
Oh my god. Oh, and he has a diary. Gerbil writes in a diary now.
Gerbil does write in a diary. Yeah.
Does anyone want to do the recap from last week?
I'll do it.
Do it.
So we found the clan.
Wait, why are you doing it? You weren't even there.
That's the joke. That's the joke.
I didn't even get it. I was like, okay.
Me either. I was just like, wow, okay, Tommy, yeah. Tommy's so
keen.
keen.
Do the recap every week.
We're all so tired that we just started nodding like, yeah, that sounds about right.
I mean, I could do the recap purely going from Gerbil's diary.
Let's do it.
I found
let's do the
several
recap
plus
from
3
Gerbil's.
swords.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
unfortunately, Mr. Blobby ate all the swords, so.
Gerbil's diary entry for last week's session reads, went to glass caves, found bandits, Killed them. Found baby's mum. Took ring. Had dinner with doctor. No rat. And what more do you need to know, really?
It wasn't dinner. It was 24/7 continental breakfast. But
Gerbil strikes me as the kind of person that whenever he eats, he just calls it dinner. It's like,
yeah,
it's 3 o'clock in the morning, dinner.
Dinner. Yeah. That's it. That's what happened. The group found the mother. There was some discussion about what to do with her body that may or may not have veered into horrifying thoughts of stuffing her inside of Asuka, which is not done.
We decided that we wanted to get the body out and try and respect the body and its burial rituals, because it had obviously been, like, you know, ritualistically Gerbil, who is a scholar, and also, which is the strangest thing about this character, honestly, we all realised that there had been some care taken with the body, but we wanted to smuggle it out in case people found it, and
because apparently we're not allowed to just tidy things away anymore. Apparently that's weird.
Yeah, no, it's much better to bury it in the sand.
Sure.
Gerbil.
Why have someone you know eat it when worms could?
Was looking to Asuka, who appears to be a hollow suit of armor, looking at the body, which appeared to be a fleshy thing without a hard shell or armor, and was just sort of going, huh. You know, like a kid doing, like, the hexagon puzzle for the first time, you know, like, fits.
Does it go in here or here?
Oh wow, look, the square one fits in the hexagon as well.
Just take Asuka apart.
Who was it who kind of, like, you know, did the squint at Asuka? Was it Aristomache or Gerbil?
It was Aristomache, yeah.
It was Aristomache. The rest of us are just kind of like, eh.
Can't just stuff a body inside someone.
We do it to me all the time.
This is D&D.
You do it to you.
Okay, well, yeah.
I mean,
You do it to you.
Any consolation, Asuka, I wouldn't just stuff bodies in you. I would also stuff Mr. Blobby in you in a pinch.
There's an idea. A horrible, horrible idea.
we could just pour Mr. Blobby in. No disassembly required.
Oh my days. I don't know. Actually, how does that work with because you're a helmed horror. That's the name, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, there's.
Can someone wear you and you retain sentience? Or
technically speaking,
I mean, I'm not saying do it, but you know.
Technically speaking, probably, but also it'd be weird.
Well, yeah. I'm just thinking if we're ever in a situation where, like, having a helmed horror would be a really, really bad deal, we could just stick someone inside, like a living person, not a corpse.
But no one knows that there's nothing inside of me until they no.
You've got glowing eyes and stuff.
So I could
like
be
if
magic.
someone knows what a helmed horror is and could recognize one, we could just stick someone in there, and then
I don't think I'm that common.
Well,
I don't think I'm that common.
It
took 100 years. It took 100 years before I came to life.
It's just an idea, you know. Maybe you get tired of walking around and want to be carried for a while. Someone could just slip in there. And we're getting off topic. Anyway.
Does Asuka get fatigue? No.
I don't require air, food, drink, or sleep. I'm immune to deafened, paralyzed, and petrified and poisoned. So, I mean, technically, I suppose I could get exhausted.
Yeah, it doesn't
so
say
if
you're
you get exhausted, someone could just be like, oh, carry on walking.
It'd just be like possession, right? There's nothing wrong with possession.
Yeah.
Just a light possession to get you.
I mean, I think it depends on who you
sock
ask.
puppets, but like sentient socks. If you had sentient socks and then put your hand in. No, wait, never mind.
Nope.
Oh my gosh. That was the weirdest thing that came out of this conversation.
Oh, you just reminded me of that awful Twitch advert.
Awful
I don't
Twitch.
want to know.
I do.
Oh
Okay.
no, this might just be targeted because I'm a male. I don't want to talk about it.
Excuse me?
Wait, hold on. What? Like
It's an advert to do with reporting porn. and they decided that the avatar for reporting potentially underage porno stars should be a sentient sock that comes and talks
like
to you.
what most young males have used socks for during
Well, that's what I'm
puberty?
thinking. You know how like algorithms work on adverts and stuff? I have a feeling that
No.
because like Alice's
I don't-
Spotify is just full of baby
I don't
adverts.
get these
okay,
ads,
that's
Scrat.
all I know.
I don't get these ads, Scrat.
I don't get these ads.
Okay.
I kind of want to see these ads now. But
I definitely have a kind of
Why
a
can't-
morbid curiosity, an academic interest, one might say, in these
I
ads.
just want meerkat ads. Why can't I have what is it? Rate the meerkat? I mean, it's simple.
compare the meerkat.com.
Compare the meerkat. I love those
look,
ads.
Chat's
Wait.
calling me out. I'm just describing, okay, an advert that Twitch puts.
I am but a
Twitch
witness.
Twitch feels is okay to put on the channel, potentially also on my channel. I'm just a purveyor here.
I mean, it's okay. I get ads for people trying to play chicken with trains and getting their cars hit by it at very high speeds.
Why?
Up with your search history, you know that's how they.
I'm right. So my search history is weird. It's like, what's the best way to strangle someone?
I don't think I've ever seen an ad on Twitch.
How
Why
to
are you not getting ads? Yay, but no.
Yeah, no, there's a really big campaign to like
I get
apparently
KFC
people-
ads like a normal person is.
I'm now just like thinking of all of my favorite adverts, and that's a weird thing.
Anyways, off topic.
Sorry.
It's one of those days,
It
everyone.
was a worthy diversion. We are not going to start
They're
this
on the just
session.
chatting.
We are not going to start this session with a little TV background because this session is going to be a little different. We're going to just do a little character session today. And so there will be no TV background. So tune in next week for TV background. I know it's everyone's favorite part because they're always confusing and they never make any sense. But you know what? The last episode, all those TV backgrounds, they're going to come back. Okay. That's how
But this
TV
is totally fits the TV thing, because this is like, you know, like one
It's
of
the clip
those
show.
clip shows where you have the framing device, which is all of us bullshitting about socks. So you have
Do you
framing
remember
device.
when
Are
we
we-
tried to
did
stuff
we
a
find-
body and ask?
Wait, did we find a hot spring underground? Because that would really set the frame for the clip. If this was anime, that would set the
No.
frame for a clip
No,
episode.
we're not having
No,
an
you're in a
episode.
hotel. You're in a hotel that Dr. Sporin bought out all of the rooms. You've just enjoyed a very lovely continental breakfast at night. Dr. Sporin
that works
said
too.
that you were all his best friends, and you didn't technically tell him he was wrong. So Dr. Sporin has retired to his room thinking lovely thoughts of his new best friends. In fact, you might even reflect that you are the only friends that he's ever really had. And so as he drifts off to sleep, he is filled with happy thoughts of what you all will do after you have finished your big adventure. He's thinking a vacation, someplace really nice, maybe to the south. He hasn't quite figured it out yet, but he's going to be working on it for a while because he really wants to impress all of you.
Would anyone be sad if I ate him?
What? While he's alive?
Why?
Just like, it's so, oh, they're gonna go on vacation. It's like, oh, really? Oh, God, no, what? No.
Is Mr. Blobby saying this?
No, Mr. Blobby isn't saying this. Mr. Blobby is a nice person. I'm not.
I think we'd have some problems with you eating him because he's currently our employer.
Oh, well, yeah. Mr.
And also
Blobby was
probably
never
main
involved.
plot hook, I would say.
Oh, well, yeah.
When has it ever stopped anyone, Scrat? When has main plot hook ever stopped anyone from doing what they wanted?
I mean, I'm pretty sure you've stabbed one of our main plot hooks in the ass. At least one of them had to be. Come on. And one of them had a family, if I remember correctly.
I think they all had families.
Yeah, something that everyone should know about all of my NPCs. All of my
Gideon definitely has
NPCs are
family.
married and they all have family. So...
Oh my days. Oh.
Okay, so you all did you decide that you were going to sleep in separate rooms?
No, we're all
Or-
in Aristonace's room, I think.
You're all in one room. Okay.
Yeah.
There are 2 twin-size beds. So I don't know how you wanna. I assume Aristomachi's gonna get a bed. I don't think that that's something that you all are gonna convince her out of. So Aristomachi's in one bed. Who wants the second bed? Where's everyone else?
I don't sleep, so I'm just gonna like I'm a bassinet with a baby in it.
Okay. Gerbil, what are you doing?
Well, Gerbil spent the end of the episode taking a painstakingly long time to write his diary. So he wouldn't have chosen a position anywhere. He would have let everyone else take the things or whatever, and then Gerbil would. I mean, we're in a hotel. We don't need to keep watch or anything, so you know. Gerbil might just go and start the hot tap running, just so there's that nice running water sound, which will remind him of caves, and then go and like start bedding down. If anyone then decides to turn off the tap, that's fine. But
I was just like, don't waste water. We're in a desert, for goodness sakes. Me, Tommy, personally, now living in LA, where water is like oil here. Is don't waste water. Although we have had more rain than we've had in than they've had in years. I only just moved here. I don't know why I'm using we already.
I got really
We Californians have been suffering for so long.
I was really confused then. I thought you meant like inconsistency. I was like, what's wrong with your water system? And then I remembered,
we just don't get rain.
Yeah. I don't know.
Asuka would also have spent time writing in their diary, their journal. They don't call it a diary, it's a journal. I guess Gerbil and Asuka have that in common? Have we ever compared diaries?
The diary!
Well, Gerbil just got his diary. He just bought it last session. Are you two writing next to one another? Or are you writing across from the room from one another?
Oh, what does Gerbil do?
I think if Gerbil sees Asuka writing, he would assume that is the writing place and go and start writing with Asuka, because I think it looks cute as fuck in my mind. And he's a tongue out writer as well. Like his tongue is like fully up his nostril.
Asuka would. Asuka wouldn't do anything if Gerbil came over and started writing. Like, as long as Gerbil's not trying to like. Good thing Asuka's much taller than Gerbil and can write. Well, no, because Asuka would need the pen. Asuka's sitting down like cross-legged. As long as Gerbil doesn't try to peek, Asuka wouldn't do anything.
Looks like we're getting
it's definitely concentration on Gerbil's face. He's writing in both common and goblin, so he's sitting there like.
How long does it take Gerbil to write a journal entry?
It'd take him half an hour to write the recap, which I read earlier.
Oh, Gerbil. Sweet goblin.
Goblin baby.
Thank you very much, Isriver, who's just donated a complication. Oh, hi.
Oh, no.
It's a complication.
It's complicated.
Do I get to know the complication that they requested?
Their request.
What is my role in this?
Well, it might be inventiveness here. Complication for Asuka if possible. If not, a normal complication.
Oh,
Okay.
Thanks, Thanks. You know, I just.
Because his life isn't complicated enough. We're trying to stuff corpses into him.
We are not recreating what you did to me over on ERP's channel.
All right, complication is in
26 wild surge effects on a character.
Oh no.
Mostly thanks to Iz.
Okay, so the picture that has kind of been painted is Aristomachi has retired without the baby because you have the baby, Mr. Bobby. You are a cradle. You are rocking the baby. Gerbil and Asuka are sitting elbow to elbow writing. I imagine maybe Gerbil's looking over at Asuka every now and again to like kind of try and copy his movements. And then after that, Gerbil goes to bed. in the bed? It sounds like no one else is taking the bed, so you can have it if you want.
Yeah. Asuka doesn't sleep on a bed. Like, Asuka will either, like, sit down cross-legged and just zone out, or will stand like just a suit of armor. So, like, to the point where, like, when they're zoned out, you wouldn't be able to tell that it's not just a suit of armor.
Okay. So, Mr. Bobby, as you are rocking this baby back and forth in this cradle that you've made of your own sentient goo body, you don't sleep. So it's not that you necessarily drift off, but you kind of zone out. The motion, which is meant to be relaxing and repetitive for the baby, also in turn, my bed is all of a sudden creaking like a lot, and it's really freaking me out. I think there's like
a cat under it.
I think there's a ghost sitting on my bed right now. What the? Okay.
Are we talking IRL right now? This is
if
weird.
If I get murdered by a ghost, just know that it was stomping on my bed just now. Okay. So this
T-shirt's not Manouche.
It's not. I looked. It's not. She's standing by the door.
It's over there. You know, sometimes ghosts like to jump on the bed.
Well, my bed is a futon, so every time you sit on it, it makes this creaking sound, and it was making this very specific creaking sound, like someone was getting comfy.
I hope it's a ghost and not mice in your mattress.
That's usually not an issue.
Fear!
That's typically not an issue.
What?
Okay. So as you're rocking this baby in this repetitive soothing motion that is definitely working, the baby was cooing and burbling and like sucking on its toes as baby do, and it slowly started to fall into slumber. You find that this motion is oddly soothing for you as well, and as you're walking back and forth, you kind of zone out. And
I'm really sorry, everyone. Zoom's been having a bunch of issues recently. Welcome back, everyone. Sorry about that. It seems Zoom's up again. Hopefully this time, that'll be the end of our Zoom issues.
Zoom! As you're rocking back and forth, you remember a time in which you were feeling the breeze against your gelatinous form, and the tall wheat just on the other side of this small town that you've been staying in with your newest friend, Darmok, excuse me. I wrote the name down backwards. Darmok. And you were rocking back and forth as you're kind of watching this breeze take up this wheat. And from behind you, you hear the familiar lumbering steps of Darmok, who is a very large dragonborn and has never once in his life taken any consideration as to how loud he's walking, because he doesn't really give a fuck.
Oh, hello. You're being loud again.
Well, to be fair, I'm not entirely used to company. No one's complained about my footsteps before.
No, I wasn't complaining. I just, it's nice. I don't really make noise. Kind of a
yes
bluff occasionally.
I've noticed. What are you doing?
Looking at things. I mean, that's what I like to do. I mean, I left so I could see things. I see a lot of wheat.
Yes, for a city that doesn't have a lot of farming, there seems to be a lot of wheat. Something about the rustic aesthetic that really ties the city all together.
So you don't, use it for anything?
No, not really. We typically get all of our produce, meat, wheat, butter, all of those things from, well, like from where you're from.
Yeah, we send a lot of meat to the cities. I mean, the cows and things, like the big, yeah.
He's gonna sit down next to you, which is very difficult for him. He's not as young as he used to be, and I don't think anyone would have probably ever argued that he was ever particularly graceful, but he, with great, you know, kind of like difficulty folding himself up, plops down next to you.
And then I kind of shake, like, you know, when you suddenly move a plate full of jelly, just as he hits the ground, like, ugh. Okay.
Do you ever think about home?
Sometimes. They're probably waiting for me to come back. So, you know, I think about, you know, what it'll be like when I go back and tell them everything I've seen, and they'll be really, really excited and proud of me and things. They'll probably have a parade, you know. Well, they'll probably walk, roll. Sometimes, not a lot. Kind of sinking slightly.
Have you been in Jadir your entire life?
Yes. Where I'm from is kind of in the middle, I think. We don't really have maps, but I think it's in the middle, so I'm kind of moving towards the edge, I think.
I have a feeling that you won't be returning home for some time.
I'd like to see a lot of things before then. I mean, I haven't seen very much. And right now I'm seeing a lot of wheat. And I don't think they'd be that excited if I went home and told them that, because we feed the cows, that kind of thing.
Well, wheat is boring. What if we took a trip into the city? Have you been into Fraga yet?
I haven't. I would love to go on a trip. I've looked at it from a ways away. It looks very shiny, but I haven't really gone in yet. Some of the towns I went through on the way here were surprised to see me. So I was maybe thinking to wait. But if you're coming, I'd love to go into the city. Yes, please. I'd like to see it.
Well, I don't have anything to do today. I've done all of my chores, and as he says this, you know he has no chores. He does nothing all day, every day. And I need some ingredients for something that I've been working on. I could source them myself, but maybe the city is a good place for us both to go for today.
Road trip! Wibbling, excited wibbling.
He tries to stand up, but he's having a little bit of difficulty. He kind of like keeps like rolling onto his knees, and he's like, okay, all right.
Can I kind of like squish under him and like, you know, as a kind of like jack effect? Like, yep.
Oh, thank you. These
like pneumatic jack.
These scales aren't quite as loose fitting as they used to be, if you know what I mean. Do you age?
Not like you bone havers do. We kind of get floppier.
Well,
it's hard to explain. You'd know an old ooze if you saw one, but it's you have to see it.
What is the oldest ooze that there is?
Let's see. Well, there was one who was kind of so floppy that they were basically just a puddle. I think they were quite old, definitely older than me. I only met them when I was little, though, before you know they went. I don't know exactly how old they were, and I don't really know how old bone havers live to. So I think they were about 90-something. They were very old.
Do you think you'll live to be that old?
I don't know. I think so. Nothing's really tried to kill me, like really tried to kill me. And I don't really get sick. And I'm eating a lot. There's so much stuff to eat on the road. I mean, people just leave things everywhere. So messy.
Yes. I don't think all of that is meant to be eaten, but... Well, let's get you into the city, and then we'll see about how eager you are to continue your journey through the rest of Jadir after seeing Fraga, the glorious capital, Bluebeard's most ingenious architecture.
More excited wibbling.
He walks back towards the house that he stays in, which is like a very modest like cabin, basically. It's like where Abe Lincoln grew up. And he has a cart, a very small cart that's pulled by a really very angry looking donkey. Like, this donkey looks like it really doesn't want to take any shit. And he saddles up the cart and begins to pull on the donkey and is walking astride it and kind of motions for you to follow.
I just kind of blob along behind.
What is your walking speed again? It's 20?
20 feet.
20 feet. Okay. So you're probably walking for about 30 minutes when the donkey keeps like looking back at you. It can tell that you're moving really slow. It's a very smart donkey. And the donkey just wants to get where it needs to go. It is very used to making this journey. It knows internally how quickly it should take and like what time they'll be back and at what point they can stop to eat carrots. And this donkey knows that you are kind of throwing this routine for a loop. And Darmok notices this as well, and he looks at you and says, "Do you want to ride in the cart?"
Yep, I could do that. And just kind of like schleps over and kind of over the side of the cart, and then it's like, you know, ooze going uphill. Just kind of
As he watches you do this, he gets a very funny expression on his face, and he says, "Have you ever ridden a mount?"
I'm going to say no. 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 I think that's a thing you need legs for.
Well, you can wrap around, can't you?
I've done that, but I haven't ridden anything.
He goes over to the cart and unhooks the donkey, whose name is Indra the donkey, and he unhooks Indra from the cart and kind of pats her back.
Oh, really? Okay. Most things don't like this. It kind of like schleps back over the edge of the cart and basically like forms a gold puddle around Indra's feet. Like just around
Indra's
the
feet?
hooves. Yep, because there's no other way to get up there. It's not like, you know, can reach for a saddle or anything. So just like, so she's basically standing in a gold puddle now, and then just slowly starts to rise up the legs, all four at the same time. Just like
Darmok laughs and he pats Indra's back again. And hold on, my cat is scratching at the closet, and we know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Quick, everyone, take control of the campaign before she gets back.
It's not, you know, it's nice when you live with like human roommates and you guys can coordinate your bathroom schedules, but it's quite difficult to coordinate a bathroom schedule with a cat.
So we
spend most of my time with
accomplished all of our
toddlers to
goals.
try and join you, so
We've successfully found the human clan and returned the baby, and then
Everything's fine. The baby's fine. Darmok pats the back of Indra again and says, "Just, you know, coalesce here, right
Okay.
here."
And basically Indra gets a coating of slime up all four legs, and then at some point when, you know, mass has moved that much, the hooves suddenly become visible again, and eventually I think I'm probably slightly like like trying to coalesce, but then like trying to tower, and kind of losing. You know, I'm wibbling definitely because not having legs to hang down on either side is basically like a tower. Like, you know when you take cranberries out of a can and you get like the tower of can. It's like that but longer, and it's wibbling. Like, this doesn't feel safe.
Flatten yourself more. Spread out across her back, like a pancake.
Okay, and just like. It gets
like a
bit
fantasy
lower.
pancake.
And like, have you know when you see like war chargers and they have like the horse skirt? Indra's basically now wearing a golden horse skirt, all like from her ears down to her butt. It's like slightly see-through and with bits of things in it.
Darmok is laughing at you, and he says, how do you expect to make your journey across the 5 nations if you don't know how to ride a horse? Or a donkey, for that matter.
Like I was before. I mean, I can move.
Yes,
and
you can.
I don't really need to stop, so takes a while, but I don't stop.
Well, let's see how you like this way of travel. And as he says that, he gives Indra a nice smack on her rump, and she takes off.
He just smacked me because I'm covering her rump.
He smacks you. And as he smacks you, you kind of reverberate. Indra feels the smack as well. And so Indra takes off at a full canter, a donkey canter. And you are moving faster than you've probably ever moved in your life.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, the Doppler effect of...
Go ahead and make me... Oh, I'm not even in roll 20. Ooh, how bad. So naughty. Go ahead and roll me a deck save.
Being in roll 20 would help, I feel.
Yeah. I rolled
Why didn't anyone tell me there was no music?
There's music.
I can hear music.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
music.
because you guys are in roll 20.
Yeah.
Duh.
Pretty theme fitting as well, actually. It sort of makes sense.
Yep, I rolled a 6.
You rolled a 6? Okay.
Yep.
You are able to hold on for maybe what might seem like a long, like you definitely thought you were going to fall off maybe right away, and you're able to keep this cinch across all of Indra for maybe about 60 feet. And then you just slowly start to, like, one part of you, like, you know when you're moving, when you're driving a car and like something falls off and it starts to like wiggle and then like pull at the rest of it.
And then there's just the parachute effect of...
Exactly. That's exactly what happens. And you parachute off of Indra.
I am just lying on the ground. I'm not moving. I'm just gonna lie there. I don't have lungs, so I can't like breathe heavily, but like there's like, you know, shudders and pulsation of, oh my god, I almost died.
Darmok you can hear Darmok laughing as he approaches you, and he definitely takes your time. He isn't concerned that you've hurt yourself, whether that's because he knows that you didn't hurt yourself or he just doesn't understand that you can hurt yourself. You're not quite sure, but he very deliberately picks his way towards you, and you see that Indra stops her running about, you know, another 30 feet up, and she's looking back at you and tossing her head and stomping her hooves. She's super mad. And Darmok says, well, I guess it's a good thing that you can live for such a long time, because at this rate, it's going to take you 90 years to see the world.
That was not nice.
I'm sorry, but it was very funny.
Just like coalesces into like a little lump, just like... Meh.
He extends an arm out, kind of as if he expects you to have a hand to take. He looks at his hand, realizing that he doesn't 100% know what he's doing, but he extends it out to you.
One of my pseudopods just like flops into his hand and then just coalesces right up to his shoulder. So it's like pulling myself up and then flopping back down to like my normal height of mound of gold stuff. I can ride in carts. That's how I got this far sometimes. I don't always move. Sometimes I ride in things, not on things. I still think that requires legs, which I don't have. I don't want.
Well,
Very pouty. Like I don't have a face, but there's a pout in the voice.
let's continue into the city, and perhaps we can put this experiment behind us.
Sure. How do you get that back? Because I presume Indira is like a little ways away. Has stopped.
Yeah, he whistles, and Indra comes over, and he leads Indra back to the cart and hooks her back up, and they begin. And as they pass you, he motions for Indra to stop. He kind of pulls on her, and she stops. And if you want to get in the cart,
Yeah, I'll schlep back into the cart.
okay. And you begin your walk into Fraga, and as you're walking, you see kind of what he was talking about. The road leading into the city is crested on either side by these glorious sheaves of wheat, just what would appear to be acres and acres of like beautiful golden wheat that are kind of very gently listing in the breeze. But you notice that there's no one working the wheat fields. There's no farmhouse here. There's no one singing as they are chopping at the wheat. What one does with wheat, they chop it to wheat chopping and sing. Everyone knows that wheat farmers are the singiest of all.
Oh God.
And as you get closer to the city, it kind of, the wheat fades and it ends in this big gate, this huge, beautiful archway that has 2 guards on either side and this very stunning mosaic design along what you can see.
Mr. Bobby kind of shrinks a little in the back of the cart because this is the biggest thing he has ever seen. It's also the most shiniest thing he's ever seen. And he suddenly feels like all of the bits of coin and the bits of jewelry he's found, and all of the the gem dust and stuff he's got along his travels is suddenly just dust. It's just dust and metal, and he feels very, like when you see someone who's actually wearing diamonds and you're wearing like plastic. It's like, oh, okay, that's what shiny is supposed to look like. Right. So he sinks back in the cart a little bit.
Darmok picks up on this. I think at this point you've only been staying with him for maybe a week or two. Not that long, but you two have been able to pick up on each other's mannerisms pretty quickly. Maybe because you're just you don't try and hide kind of what you're thinking or feeling. So he's been able to classify some of your movements. He's been able to assign what he imagines the emotional component or like the physical component is to what you're doing. And he looks at you slinked in the cart and he says, I wouldn't be worried that anyone is looking at you. There is much to see in Fraga, and the good thing about the people, as snooty as they are, is that it's very difficult for them to see down their noses.
There's like a beat, and then almost imperceptibly, Mr. Blobby almost like sinks a little further until they're almost coating the bottom of the car.
Okay.
They don't say anything. They just kind of like go but not being seen is actually what he's worried about. He's being told that he's not going to be seen is kind of like, oh, I'm going to be ignored then, and that's worse. So he just kind of sinks a little further and kind of goes, oh, okay. Thanks.
I don't think Darmok picks up on that distinction.
Yeah.
So he kind of smiles affably and continues in. And as he goes through, the guards, raise a hand and he raises a hand back, and they continue through with no hassle. And immediately you had been hearing the sounds of the city as you had approached, but as soon as you enter this gates, there is this cacophony of voices and music and hooves. And from what you can see from where you're pushed in against the cart, the city is made up of these incredibly tall, towering structures. There is no single story houses appear to exist in Fraga. Like, as soon as you walk in, this is a towering city that is meant to take up a lot of space.
And kind of like curiosity kind of wipes away a little bit of the insecurity, and Mr. Blobby kind of like oozes up a little bit and kind of hangs over the side of the cart. And there isn't a sense of looking round because no face, but kind of like almost swishing from one side of the cart to the other, because just trying to get a sense of the whole thing at one time, and getting very excited, wibbling, and at one point like almost swooshing up to the front of the cart and like almost hanging over Darmok's shoulder and just being like, oh, this is big. Oh, there's so many people, and just excited touristy mutterings. If they had a camera, it'd be going off every 5 seconds.
He watches you for a minute as you walk along, and he's not really paying attention to the road. Indra seems to know where she's going, and so she continues ambling forward, and people kind of part around him. He's not an imposing figure, but he's very large, and so it's very easy for people to stay out of his way. So maybe he hasn't really ever had to learn to stay out of other people's way. So he's just continuing forward, and he's looking at you. We've entered into the merchant's quarter. They have different entrances for many parts of the city, depending on what you're looking for. And this is where I come to sell some of my talents and buy things that I might use in some of my hobbies.
At this point, I mean, I know I've been staying with him for a week or so, but Mr. Blobby doesn't actually ask the right questions at the right time. Would I know what he does for a living?
I don't
come up?
He doesn't hide it. Whether or not it's come up, I guess, is up to you, whether or not you've asked. But you have definitely walked in on him, and more than one morning, doing something across the room, and there being like a spoon stirring itself in a pot on the fire, or like a broom moving in the corner doing work that he should be doing, but he is too busy writing something down. And it's not something that he's hidden, but it isn't something maybe that you two have talked about in explicit terms.
Just because I think it's funny. I think Mr. Blobby would catch on that he's definitely a magic user, and especially if he's talking about like ingredients and hobbies and stuff, there's probably like, he's mentioned something that you could pick up and put together that's his profession. But I kind of want to roll an intelligence to figure out if Mr. Blobby just thinks he's a magic cook.
Okay.
That's also what he could think.
Okay.
Oh, and also I have really bad intelligence and I love it. Oh, damn it, it's good. Okay.
Yeah. So you, it was very, very, I don't know that I would say alarming, but the fact that you developed magic was something that was very shocking to not only you, but to the people around you. And so you haven't really experienced magic users being so open with their magic. When you had first developed it, you had, as we had kind of talked about, developed like a form of druid craft that was more like farmer's craft, where you were able to do very strange things with kind of what you had in front of you. You could make flowers grow and, these small, minor magical wonders. And it was something that maybe you weren't hiding, but it wasn't something that everyone was doing. So you knew right away that it was strange. And no one in your family has any magical ability. So you're not sure where this comes from. So even though he hasn't explicitly stated that he is magical in nature or that he controls magic or knows magic in any way, you do know that if he, or at least you assume that if he's able to do these small, minor things, that he must have some greater knowledge of magic than you do. And you do know that he isn't ashamed of it. He hasn't tried to, anytime you've seen any of these things, he hasn't tried to stop it. He hasn't explained it. He just continues using magic as he sees necessary for small, minor tasks that you've encountered him.
Okay. Yeah, so I just stay in the cart and kind of follow Darmok's lead. Getting very excited and occasionally almost falling out of the cart when I see something particularly pretty or shiny.
The city around you is very, very clean. You've never seen anything quite this clean, even though you are in the merchant's quarter where there are stalls and people are hawking their wares and everyone is yelling, and there is some livestock and there is food products, cooked food and raw food and food in bulk and cloth and spices and jewelry. There are so many different things and there are so many scents and sounds in the air. The floor, the cobblestone is spotless. The buildings are spotless. Everyone looks incredibly well presenting. Everyone is clean. Everyone looks bathed. You can't smell the funk of, animals the way that you usually can when there are so many different types of creatures together that kind of just like lived in smell. None of that is here.
This makes me very happy.
And as you're walking, Dracom is kind of Darmok is kind of talking to people every now and again, stopping, not really making introductions, not stopping for any long period of times. And as you're walking, he says, Fraga is very beautiful, isn't it?
It is. It's really shiny and it's so clean. I don't think I've been anywhere that's this clean. I mean, even at home, we tidy up pretty much everything, and it's never this clean. I mean, whoa.
Yes, it is very clean. Something that the enforcers of the peace make sure that we all respect the tidiness of Fraga.
That sounds nice.
Yes. But the thing about Fraga is that not every place is like this. And in fact, I don't think any place is like this. It's almost fake. They're hiding something. It's a shiny veneer.
What? And there's like confused wibbling. Like, but why? I mean, everyone must like it here. It's so pretty. And everyone seems really happy. Why would you seem something you're not?
He stops, and Indra stops as well, and he looks at you and puts his hands on the edge of the cart and says, I've lived in Jadir my entire life. I've traveled a fair amount, read more than I've seen, and I find that there is a strange condition, almost, of the people born here. Very few of them ever want to leave.
Well,
and as pretty as it is, that shouldn't be enough to keep people here. And yet, almost everyone who was born in Jadir dies in Jadir. You're one of the first people that I've met in decades who wants to leave.
Well, the first?
In a long time.
But there's I haven't seen everything. I haven't seen anything really. Cows, mostly. And they're nice. I mean, everyone I know likes the cows, but it can't be all there is. I mean, this place is amazing. I can see why everyone likes it here. It's really shiny, but it's not everything. And I want to see everything. Or at least everything I can.
Does your family feel the same way? Do they want to see everything?
No. You know, we have a saying, if we were meant to see things, we'd have eyes. They
I want that tattooed on my body.
They like where they are. I mean, they're super proud of me. They, you know, they were really sad when I left. You know, just waiting for me to come back. Probably really, you know, worried where I am and stuff. But you know, they were really excited that I was going to, you know, on this journey. But they don't really want to do it themselves. No one I know really wants to do anything that they haven't been doing for years.
And do you think if they saw Fraga and what Jadir has to offer, would they be satisfied?
If they saw Fraga, they'd probably try and sell it neat. They don't. It's very small where I'm from. You know, everything. The place. The lives. Everything's very small. So, I'd say they're satisfied. They wanted me to be satisfied. That was, I wasn't good at anything there. Or the things I am good at weren't useful. And everything needs to be useful.
Exploration is its own kind of use, though the others don't always see it that way. One second, and he goes off to a stall a few steps away, and you can't really see what you can't hear what he's saying, but you can see him talking very amicably to the person who is in charge of the stall. And after a few minutes, he comes back and he hands you a book.
And it just kind of like sits on top of me. Thank you.
This is one
pages is a little difficult.
This is one of my favorite histories of Jadir. It talks about King Bluebeard and his illustrious line, his father and grandfather and great-grandfather. You get it. If you want to be an explorer, this is where you can start. Read what you can about the city, the history, what we tell, and find out all of the places where we are wrong.
So, to go and see things, I have to read about how it's not that way anymore. And there's that air of, you know, like belligerent school children kind of being like, why do I have to learn algebra? I'm never going to use it. It's like, oh, okay.
You don't have to. You could get to the edge of the nation. You could get to the mountains and decide that you don't want to leave Jadir, that it has everything that you've always wanted. That's what most people decide, somehow. It always has everything they've always wanted, whether they're lucky enough to live in this city or they are simple cattle farmers, just doing their job to feed the populace. Somehow it's always enough.
But I don't know what I want. I mean, I know what I'd like, but that's not the same thing. I want to see things, but I don't know if that's a want. Like trying to pronounce capital letters.
Then I hope, even though you're slow, you never stop.
I don't have to! And there's that kind of like, you know, little pseudopods of yay!
He laughs and he starts up again, and Indra follows and he says, no, you don't have to. But enough with the philosophical ruminations of an old man who's just tired and just wants to make a really good stew. Do you know how long I have been trying to make the perfect stew? There was this spice I had, and I haven't been able to find anything like it. But tonight, we are going to make a perfect stew.
Stew! And like, Mr. Blobby is kind of like swept up, like still holding the book at, you know, at some point on his person, but he's kind of like swept up and is kind of like almost piggybacking on Darmok and like, you know, like just like hanging onto his back, not engulfing him because he's learned the hard way that people don't always want to be hugged, but just kind of like almost like, you know, a turtle shell just like hanging onto his back, like yay, stew! Little pseudopods waving on his shoulders.
As you continue walking, and now he's just talking to you about whatever he's pointing things out to, you're kind of being rocked by both his motion, his locomotion forward, and then also the motion of the cart. And you are brought back into where you are now, which is rocking this fat little sleepy baby.
Aww. And just like rocking the baby, kind of like, you can't, and like, you know, just occasionally little pseudopods just like messing with its feet, you know, like the way people always mess with babies' feet. It's like,
yeah,
they're soft and pudgy. It's kind of like, you kind of remind me of him. You're kind of a little bit squishy, and you can't really move that well. Aww. I'm gonna keep rocking the baby.
Okay. And as you are rocking the baby, and as Aristomachi lays sleeping, I like to imagine that Aristomachi snores. I'm not going to say that because she's not here to defend herself, but I
think we've already said it in one of our last sessions that Aristomachi snores.
And while Asuka has long stopped writing, though Gerbil is still scribbling away very aggressively, Asuka, you have finished your daily recountings of the day. You're a bit of a faster writer than Gerbil. And
much faster writer.
You have finished writing in your diary. I almost said diary. Your diary.
Journal. It's a journal. It's a journal.
It's a journal.
It's a journal.
Gerbil's journal is definitely a journal.
Gerbil's journal.
Well, let's settle this once and for all. Do either of them have tiny heart-shaped padlocks on them?
Do any of them have tiny heart-shaped padlocks on them? Yes or no?
I mean, I just bought mine from the store yesterday.
Yes, Gerbil's does.
Then that's definitely a diary.
Asuka's has like a leather binding, like a leather strap binding on it.
Okay. What do you do as you finished writing in your journal for the day?
Well, Asuka would, would take out their swords. So Asuka goes around with sort of 3 swords, 2 on one on his left hip, 1 on not his, 2 on their left hip, 1 on their right hip, and the one on the right hip is shorter, and they only take out the short sword and 1 of the longer katana-like swords. And they would do their sort of like evening maintenance, make sure the blades are oiled, well taken care of. The blades are in much better condition than Asuka's armor currently is in, just from time and whatnot. So they would like sharpen it and oil it and make sure they're doing fine before putting them back. And then they would finally sort of settle down cross-legged in a corner or such, cross their arms and sort of like do their power down trance sort of 4-hour thing each night. It's like an elf's trance, right? So that's what they would do. Their eyes go dark, and they're just settled in as a suit of armor in a corner, sitting cross-legged.
You've been having issues where you have been forgetting a lot of things, small things and big things, and sometimes what feel as if their memories come to you unbidden. But one thing that you have not forgotten is the moment that you first woke up, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
And you remember nothing. You remember almost a feeling of emptiness. And then you see, kind of as if your eyes are opening for the first time, splotches, a man sitting cross-legged a few paces in front of you on the ground, sharpening a sword.
I think so Asuka had been the armor for this family for a couple generations at this point, and that they had finally been retired. So I think this is sort of a dojo-esque hall where they're at the end of the hall on an armor rack.
Yep.
And so it's just kind of that sort of setting. There's, a sword rack next to them.
You can see next to you there are other armors that are of similar style, but different colors, different sashes, different builds, smaller ones, larger ones, many weapons, and just the only presence that you can feel and the only sound that you hear is the sound of a whetstone across the blade. And this person in front of you just rhythmically scraping it down the side of the blade.
Yeah. I mean, and Asuka would sort of, I guess, turn the helmet around, like look around with the helmet. They're kind of stuck on this armor rack at the moment. Just because, it's just kind of like, but yeah, they turn, and there's probably a sound as they sort of start to like stretch their limbs and sort of gain a sense for being around. They sort of immediately know that, I'm assuming this is their master in front of them. I'm assuming. Not that Asuka can really remember their face. It's sort of just a blur, and like what they just remember sort of a general, shape and sort of look and some certain things, but they can't quite remember details. Yet. And I mean, yeah, so I imagine there is sound as Asuka starts to like sort of gain awareness of their body, right?
Yeah. As you are twisting in this enclosure, kind of against the wall where you've been lovingly pinned, but pinned to maintain your shape.
Yeah.
The sounds stop, and very, very slowly this figure turns to look at you. And though in time you've come to recognize this expression as shock. It is very quickly fleeting, and in the moment you're not entirely sure what this person's face is telling you, but they get up and they walk very purposefully over towards you.
Asuka would then try to like do like a full sort of bow motion, but again they can't, so they're just kind of like they're flailing a bit on this thing.
Okay. Don't here. Let me. I can't say that I have ever experienced this. And he looks at you very curiously as he very, very quickly is able to kind of unpin you. There was a rod in your back, and he breaks it down quickly. He pulls it and breaks it down. It was like the kind of like slide in to make longer. And
I'm really sorry, everyone. Zoom's packed in again. We'll see if it restarts up. It doesn't look like it is. It's since they last did the update. I have no idea what happened there. But essentially, it stopped the whole thing from working. Well, I say the whole thing from working. It just randomly crashes on me. Today's been particularly bad. I'm not sure what's going on right this second. Hey, sorry.
Hello, what happened?
Zoom totally crashed. Totally crashed.
I just got booted.
Yeah, it said the link owner had started a new chat.
Yeah, it wouldn't let me back into the it wouldn't let me back in.
I think there's ghosts.
My bed ghost
for our Zoom chat.
My bed ghost is now in the Zoom.
Or the mice have Zoom accounts. We don't know.
Okay, so I've put you all back in the right places now, I believe.
Yeah, I'm Dungeon Master. That's right. This is now my show.
I am the Dungeon Master.
This is now a horror show.
Master of the dungeon.
There we go. We're slowly fading.
Baby noises. Pearl has brought that into the other game I play in, and it's just, I can't get away from it.
It's a scary sound.
What, screaming babies?
It's screaming like babies from a horror movie.
Oh god, the real thing is bad enough.
Yeah, it's a spooky sound that Pro Restarter can make. I recommend everyone check out his spooky baby sounds.
They'll haunt your nightmares.
They will haunt your nightmares.
Anyways, so I think, Asuka's first sort of instinct is to sort of do a bow towards obviously someone of, greater status and honor than themselves, someone they feel deserves sort of like their fealty, right? Like, yeah, it's very, it's sort of like, it's what they still have those, like, they don't have memories, but they have those feelings of when they were just a suit of armor. They have those flashes of just things that their wearer experienced. Sort of moments of strong emotion are typically what's been imparted to them through sort of just sort of the spirit, right? And so their first instinct would be to do sort of a low bow, and it's a little awkward because they're still not used to controlling their own limbs, right? Like, they're almost newborn. They're a little more put together than like a newborn would be, but like it's still awkward to be the one controlling the limbs.
Right. Pardon me. I'm tired.
Don't yawn now. I'm gonna yawn.
Yeah. As you bow, and you're on a platform, you were elevated. you're not necessarily clumsy, but you weren't accounting for the fact that you're raised, and you almost begin to pitch forward a little bit, and this man's hands come out and he places them on your chest and he says, "You would be polite, wouldn't you? I'm sorry, I don't really know what to do in this situation." And as he's saying this, he's like looking all over you and kind of very gently running his fingers across your chest plate and over your arms. Do you remember anything? Is there anyone in there? And he goes to touch your face plate, almost as if he's going to take it off, and then removes his hand and just looks at you.
Oscar would touch at the same time, would touch like his face, would just put up their hand and like touch their face. And then sort of tilt their head and look at them and sort of, nod their head.
Can you speak?
The mask sort of makes motions, but nothing comes out.
No, you can't. But you can understand me.
Head nods.
I had heard of this in myths, something like this happening, but I never thought that I would experience it myself. You have been hanging here for so long. I wonder why you've come to me now.
Oscar would just sort of tilt their head, not really understanding, perhaps. I think they're not, I wouldn't say they're really aware of why they are the way they are now.
Yeah. He looks at you, this blue-faced figure. I've described this mysterious blue-faced figure so many times, and no one's figured out the race, and I'm gonna keep it that way. And he looks at you with his flat nose and his no ears. You got more hints. And he looks at you and says, "You don't remember me, I don't think. My name is Daiichi."
Asuka will nod their head, and they will they don't really have a way to communicate at this moment. They would mirror some motions that they remember with Daiichi would have made sort of more like forms and whatnot. This is their sort of like sword, like motions they go through when performing sword forms and whatnot. It's sort of as a way of communicating that they remember things, right?
He watches you go through these motions, and his face crumples, his brows kind of knit together, and his nose gets this really intense crinkle here, and then he closes his eyes and remembers himself and lets his shoulders drop and centers. And so when he looks at you again, there's a semblance of calm, and he says, "I can't just keep thinking of you as something that's just come alive. You need a name. Everything always has a name. It's how we begin. And hopefully when we end, we're surrounded by people who say our names with honey on their tongue. Asuka. Asuka was a dear friend of mine, and I think he would be happy for his name to continue on."
Yeah, Asuka would sort of look and then nod their head, and then sort of make the motion. They can remember sort of writing, like they would remember sort of the writing, and they would sort of draw the characters for their name in the air.
Oh, you can spell? He nods and does it back to you, kind of like confirming that that's correct. And he points to part of your body. He taps. Is the sparrow on your chest?
Yes. Yeah. There's a sparrow on the chest and sort of wings coming off the helmet.
He taps your chest, and you can kind of look down. I don't know what your line of sight is, but I imagine you can see your chest.
Yeah, a little bit.
He says, Bird.
Asuka will tap. We'll tap the symbol and then make the character that the one character that means bird back.
Forgive me, I've been incredibly rude. Would you like a tour?
Asuka would nod.
He steps back and holds out a hand for you. You are on this platform, so you're like a foot or two off the ground. So he holds a hand out to you, indicating that you could take it if you want, and he'll help you down.
Asuka would take it.
He helps you down, and as you come down on the ground, now he kind of circles you completely, looking over you again in that look of wonderment on his face, and he says,
his head turns and follows just a little unnaturally.
He's a little freaked out. He says, this will be difficult to explain to everyone, but we are an understanding people. I think in time we will find a place for you. I've spent many hours with you. I feel as if I know you, even though you are so new. I know every inch of your armor. I've cleaned you and polished you, repainted the sparrow on your chest. Asuka, I've dedicated so much of my life to you, and here you are now. It feels a little strange.
And again, this is Asuka would just sort of tilt their head, and they're while they understand some feelings, but like the idea of something being strange isn't something that's really come up before, so they're not quite, they don't quite grasp what that means.
Right. He, it seems like he's really just kind of talking, maybe not entirely expecting you to understand, but he kind of motions forward with one hand for you to begin walking, and then he will keep a pace next to you as he shows you around this room that you have been found in, and he explains, much of this armor has been in my family for generations. I have worn some of it, not all of it. My daughter has worn it, and her mother before her, and perhaps one day her grandchildren too. This is where we take things that have always meant something to us when they are retired, so that we can honor the ways in which they have served us. And as he says that, he kind of closes his eyes and says, served is, it feels inappropriate now that you're standing in front of me, but you have protected me here, and he points to your chest above the sparrow. Here, someone tried to stab me and you stopped it. And here, and he points to your wrist, someone, you have saved me so many times. Can you feel any of that? Do you remember anything that I experienced while in you?
They'll sort of like shake their hand like that, sort of, and they'll motion out some events they remember. Sort of like a mock battle and taking the blows like as they're sort of like thrown back, and then they'll make, and then another sort of feeling memory that they've had when they weren't sentient, is sort of like holding a newborn baby in their arms, and then like raising a child, like a young toddler, up and setting them on the shoulders. And
yeah. When you mime holding the baby, he begins to cry, like very softly, not sobbing, but tears come out of his eyes, and he smiles and he says, I remember you holding that baby too. Oh, Asuka, it has been such a long time. I have, and before he can continue saying anything else, you hear, Dad! Ah! And like a little baby runs through, just butt ass naked. Yes, this, you have held her mother, and he kind of tries to grab the baby. And he says, "This is Ossia. She is just visiting." And the baby is like, "Oh."
And I think Asuka would sort of like, so did he take the baby in his arms, or is the baby just running around screaming still?
No, he picked the baby up. Daiichi picked up the baby, and now she's like wiggling his arms. And she's like, I just saw a really big bug. It was so big and it was so gross and it was so cool. And I followed it and I found a nest of hornets. And then I poked them with a stick and they stung me.
I think Asuka would sort of put a hand on the baby's face and just
the baby's like, what the? Dad, you have someone visiting you. And he looks down at her and he says, yes, this is Asuka. He is a good friend of mine. He just came into town.
Asuka will just sort of tilt their head and look at the child. Just
he will hold the baby out to you. She's like a toddler, she's not a baby. And he'll say, do you want to hold her?
Asuka will nod their head and hold out their arms to sort of, lift them up, but like sort of just like under their, under their arms, and
yeah.
lift them up.
He watches you with, his face is very serene, though he still has like a tear, and he like quickly wipes it away. And Ossia's mother is traveling, and she has left her with me for a time until she can find whatever it is that she's looking for. She would be alarmed to see you, I think.
Asuka would tilt their head, again, not quite understanding. But they will also sort of like lift the child up high in sort of that raised up sort of motion, and
the child wiggles its arms and is like screaming, and it says, "Throw me! Throw me!"
Asuka looks at their master, and
he nods. He kind of like he's like,
yeah. And then Asuka will do a motion that they're familiar with, that they can remember their master doing with his daughter, and toss him up and then catch him, and probably do that a couple times.
As you're doing this, Daiichi kind of takes a step back, and there's a long bench that runs through the center of this room where people can sit and look. It almost feels a bit like a museum. It's much more alive than that. You can tell that people are in here frequently, and he reaches out with his hand behind him trying to find this bench, and when he finds it, he sinks into it and he says, there is no greater joy than being able to hold your daughter, if only for one. I'm sorry, I am sentimental in my old age. It's so good to see you. Come, let us continue our tour. There's much to show you.
And I think sort of Asuka sort of files away that image in their head. I think they have a feeling that perhaps now isn't the time to ask. They have some tendencies that they remember, a bit of sort of, they are more than just a suit of armor. They're sort of a spirit inhabiting the suit of armor. And they will sort of make the motion to place the child on their shoulder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she knows what you're trying to do, and so she does it, and you can feel her fingers. She's kind of like drumming the top of your head.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Whoa, you're so tall."
Yeah, imagine at some point she probably grabs like the wings that sort of spread out from the helmet.
She tries to steer you kind of with it, the way that you would a car, a fantasy car.
Yeah, and Asuka will make little motions to move with the steering. Nothing like out of the way, but and they'll follow them. Sir.
He leaves. Daiichi he heads out, and he is keeping pace with you, but is also just a little bit ahead of you. So he's making sure that you're walking together, but he is leading you. He understands that you probably don't know where you're going. And as you walk out into this bright, beautiful day, you see that you are in a kind of hilly region. There are lots of trees. You hear birds and like other animals. You definitely hear the hornets, because Asya had just said that she had kicked a hornet's nest, and so there are definitely hornets here. But she's babbling away. She's babbling away and just talking about kind of her day, and Daiichi is asking her questions. And as you are sitting in this hotel room with a snoring Aristomachi and a gerbil who is very ferociously scribbling, and Mr. Blobby who's rocking the baby, you remember the feeling of the sun on your plates, the first time that your plates have felt warmth in decades, in a long time. And you remember the feeling of it kind of seeping under your plates into where you are, your essence, whatever that is. You feel this warmth, and you feel the weight of this child on your shoulders, and you feel this raw emotion coming from this man who seems to know you so well and is so shocked but overjoyed to see you, whoever you are. And you remember this as you're surrounded by this eclectic group that has come into your life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my heart.
Do Do you do anything as you kind of come out of this revere?
I mean, I don't. I mean, they'll. I think they just. They they try and strain and try to remember more things that they know they've forgotten, such as where that home was or exactly what their master and their family looked like. They, and I think there's just a bit of sadness as they, are, they rehash the worry that they know that they are falling apart and that the magic, that sort of the spirit that has sort of given them life is giving out. And they, I think if they sort of wake up, they'll just start reading their journal again from the time they began keeping it about, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years back, when they started realizing that they couldn't really trust their memory to stay anymore. And I think that's what they'll do for the rest of the evening after they've gotten their rest.
Why don't you tell me one question that Asuka would have asked his master and written down?
I think that what question would they ask? They asked a lot of questions once they were able to communicate that. But
what is one as you're reading this journal, your diary, your journal? Sorry,
I know what it is.
Okay.
I think it would be, what does it mean to be a samurai?
And he says, have you ever seen the movie with Tom Cruise?
Do you need me to? I can sort of go over kind of what they would have probably said if you would like, or I don't know if you have something prepared for that question.
I know a bit about samurai culture, just like, but I also am very white. Like everything I know about samurais comes diffused through Eastern, Western European like media. So if you feel more comfortable explaining kind of what some of the tenets you felt like your master would have taught you are, I would just say that I think that the way your master, the way that Daiichi would have taught them to you is, I think he would have said, he would have kind of phrased it as like, this is what a samurai does. This is our code of honor. This is how we hold ourselves accountable. These are the things that we look for. This is what we strive to do. But he would have also, would have said it, this is what you do. This is what you should do. This is the code that you honor. And he would have definitely phrased it in more very like person-centric tones. He wouldn't have been speaking to you as if you were just passively interested in samurai culture. He would have been telling you, like, this is what you are. You are a samurai, and these are the codes that you uphold.
Yeah. I like that explanation. I like that sort of, I think that's sort of like the thing that I think that's the thing they wrote down first, is probably at the beginning, is that, what does it mean to be a samurai? And it's very much, I think there's, there's a lot of things, there are virtues that they follow. And I think the last thing that their master would have said is that it's, it's not about being a great warrior or a powerful, being. It's about, being a good and honorable person.
Yeah.
And that means something different to each samurai, and something they have to discover.
And I think one of the last things he said to you in this like, what is a samurai lesson, is he would have said, Asuka, you are and have always been a samurai. You need to ask yourself, who is Asuka? And what purpose do I have outside the title? It is something we have all struggled with, and I do not envy the struggle.
And I think that question that has been posed to him is also, written in there with, underlines and whatnot. And I think that's still a question they're answering today, over like almost 100 years later.
Okay. We're gonna take just a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll get into Baby Gerbil.
I'm excited.
It's gonna be so cute.
Oh dear.
You were born on a craggy cliff.
You were born, and the thing you did as a little child was go around and stab people.
Gerbil is just that vine of the child running, and the mom's like, "What do you have?" And he's like, "A knife!"
A knife!
No!
Yeah. But hey, goblin childhood is short, right? Like, we only live to about 15, so...
Oh.
How old is Gerbil again?
13.
15.
What? Gerbil's 13.
Gerbil's 13, yeah.
Okay,
He seems like a grizzled old man, because goblins age real quick.
Okay, what is he in, like, doggy, like, the goblin equivalent of age?
Okay, so, like, if we're looking at him in terms of mileage, he probably looks like a human would look like early 40s.
So he's like culturally early 40s. Like other goblins would see him as middle-aged.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Hey, someone in chat figured it out. Woo! Mad Rogue 25, you win. Well, okay. Technically, Shakes won first.
Yeah, thank you.
And Mackenzie also won. What you win is this cat. You can come pick up this goblin at any time.
Oh, kitty.
She'll bring you live spiders, and she'll scream at you.
Is this
kill the mice in your
rare
bed.
footage of Manouche being nice?
What?
Is this rare footage of Manouche being nice?
Manouche she's never nice on camera. She doesn't like to leave witnesses.
But look, she's being so cuddly. Or is it just because she's hungry? She's like, feed me, feed
So
me.
hungry. That's why we're taking a break, because she's just been standing at the foot of my chair, just like.
So we're going to take a quick break. Thank you, Shakespeare, for that donation. I'm very happy that you did not show up as anonymous. It's very exciting. We'll be back after 5-10 minutes. Everyone, take this opportunity. Go and stretch. Make yourselves a drink. Take a bio. Do all the things. Get up. Walk around. Be happy. We'll be back in around 5-10 minutes. Where we T3P. See you in a minute. Bye. What? Oh, hi everyone! We are back! Thank you for bearing with us on the break. We now have coffee, we have bioed, we have stretched. We're ready to carry on playing the Ds and the Ds and the Ds with all the Ds. Heavenly! Oh, hi!
Hello. So we have just ended our Mr. Blobby and then our Asuka flashback, which gives us only one more flashback because this is the episode of remembering. So Gerbil, you have just finished writing in your diary, your journal, your Gerbil journal.
Uh-huh. And I imagine I've got this image in my head that when Asuka writes, it's really pretty, and you know all of this stuff. When Gerbil,
it's calligraphy for me.
Gerbil's like scratching the read across the page. Thank you very much, Major Sage, for the 300 biddies. Shane, right? Major Sage.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Shane.
I'm just like, yeah.
I got distracted by biddies. I thought something else had been said.
He's checking out this channel since I accidentally retweeted.
Last season, I accidentally didn't change the the Twitch channel at one point, then ended up streaming to Greyhawk channel. So you know, we've all done it.
This is a nice small community. We all just stream on each other's channels. We all just have access to each other's Twitters. So, Gerbil, your handwriting, I imagine, looks a lot like when you are hiking and you find a cabin that you think is abandoned, and you find a journal in that cabin of someone like detailing all of the crimes that they've committed. That's exactly what that. That's exactly what that looks like. So you've just finished writing in your journal, and you are looking across at Aristomachi, who has been sleeping this entire time. It's the best sleep of her life. I mean, she's having a great time. Asuka is in his little his revere, his trance. Mr. Blobby is rocking this baby and kind of looks like they have also rocked themselves into a little hypnotic state. What do you do, Gerbil? As you look around this room of your compatriots.
Gerbil will sort of look at the bed. Because there's a second bed, right? And it's empty?
Yep.
He goes and puts his hands on it and feels how soft it is.
It's so soft.
Oh. So he tries taking the cover off and then seeing if it's still soft. And
it's still so soft.
So then he'll push the mattress off and see if it's still soft.
If you've pushed the mattress off, no, it's one of those IKEA beds that has the slats instead of a box spring.
Oh, so it's like wooden slats. So he'll sort of lay on that.
Okay. You lay on it and it's uncomfy, which is exactly what you're looking for.
And you probably it needs more rocks, but it'll do.
Yeah. And do you go to sleep, or are you?
I think Gerbil would treat himself to a sleep. Yes.
To a little slumber. You slumber, and as you are slumbering, you remember. So you're currently in a room with a lot of, as we have established, many sentient beings, and sentient beings tend to make sound. So you hear the sounds of Aristomachi as she turns in her bed and the bed squeaks, and the sounds of the baby gurgling, and the sounds of Mr. Blobby sloshing and the sounds of Mr. Blobby rocking against the ground. You hear nothing from Asuka, which is very creepy. So there's even the sound of silence that permeates this group that you've come to know and to travel with for so long. And slowly, as you're drifting off into sleep, the din of your companions around you, the silence of Asuka, the baby, Aristomachi, Mr. Blobby, slowly begins to fade into a different din of noise, a more cacophonous string of curses and grunts, and you hear someone making breakfast.
Ooh, I like breakfast. I will wake up and go and see what kind of rat it is.
You wake up and what does your room look like in your cave? Do you have a room, or were you used to all sleeping together?
Oh, so is this in like Gerbil's like isolated cave or back in like the colony cave? Because the colony cave. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
You're in the colony. Someone's making you breakfast.
Ah, so Gerbil was that weird goblin. So where everyone else is quite happy to sleep in their own refuse or, you know, do the normal things like leave things rocky and stuff. I think he went out of his way to find posters of like the latest Tiefling band. He would wear where everyone else would wear
The latest Tiefling band is called Tooth, Tail, and Titties, and it's a all-female hard rock band.
He loves it. That is exactly what Gerbil is into. He is. Can that also be the name of their trio? Is it Tooth, Tail, and Titties?
Yep, Tooth, Tail, and Titties. Yeah.
Yeah. His favorite was Tail. Because she had like a really cool side fringe that like
yes,
he
and she didn't
teen.
have a tail. It was kind of a joke. She was a tailless tiefling.
Yeah, and he was totally into that, and he would try and emulate her hair. Around his room there is a rock that he sleeps on, which is really comfy. And there's some water running down a wall nearby. Not dripping, but you know, just that sound of when water's moving. It's a difficult sound to describe. It's almost just like a cadence, you know.
Yeah.
He has a secret rock as well that he can lift up to reveal so many knives.
Okay, so he has a secret big boulder, and under that boulder is knives.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Everything makes sense. So you wake up in your room, and the first thing you see is this poster above you and all of your rocks. And you hear the sounds of the colony around you. The thing about colony life is that no matter the fact that you all are supposed to be going to bed around the same time and waking up at the same time, there's always noise. Someone's always staying up late or getting up early or going to the bathroom. And so you wake to the very familiar clanging, muttering of people walking around. And your colony is quite small. This isn't going to be like an ant colony where there are hundreds of you. It's like a family. And you hear your family outside your room, your cave room, and you hear someone saying, "Oh, but we just had that kind of rat yesterday." And someone else says, "That's the only kind of rat there is. It's just the one rat. It's just rat."
Gerbil will sort of make his way out of his room. Morning. Morning. What kind of rat are we eating today?
And as you say morning, the cook, whose name is Merble, turns to you and rolls her eyes, and she says, "The only type of rat there is. It's just rat. They're all just rats."
But we've got ketchup, right?
And as you say that, the goblin that had been talking to the cook, whose name is Lurble, looks at you with a very pointed look and says, "No, Gerbil, we don't have any ketchup because you ate all of the ketchup."
Yeah.
So how do you expect that any of us have ketchup if you've eaten all of the ketchup?
Don't you get more?
Did you put it on the shopping list, Gerbil? And he points to the wall where there's scribbled with chalk a shopping list, and it says, It says rat milk. It says butter, and then in parentheses, rat ? It says rat. It says...
So, like, Goebbels gonna say, Marble, you know that's not fair. You're the only one that can write.
Did you tell me to put it on the shopping list? Because Kerbal asked for rat milk, and I put it on the shopping list.
I'm a little confused about rat milk.
It's a very simple, well, and this is when Kerbal pops up, and Kerbal has spectacles, and he pushes them back on his nose, and he says, it's a very simple process. You find the rat when they are sleeping. It's always best to find the rat when they're sleeping. Then you put on, it's kind of difficult because they're so little, but you put on your gloves.
Kerbal, it doesn't matter how complex you make the procedure, you're not gonna make rat vegan.
I just think that we don't always have to kill the rats. We could live with the rats in harmony. We could perhaps put them in cages and let them see the sun every now and again and just be ethical with our consumptions of rat is all I'm saying.
They're literally a plague, Kerbal. Literally.
Well, some people would say that we are also literally a plague, and it's very hurtful. And as Kerbal is saying this, you see that Kerbal has a rat on his lap that he's petting.
Kerbal, are you patting the breakfast?
This is not breakfast. This is Veronica.
Marble, Kerbal's got a breakfast again.
And Merble looks towards you and looks at Veronica and rolls her eyes and says, we all agreed that Kerbal could have that rat, if only so that he would stop stealing the rats.
Can I have breakfast now?
Merble walks over to the table and puts down the freshly cooked rat. And with it is served some bread, some butter, question mark, parentheses, rat, question mark. And there are some vegetables. And as Merble puts down the rat, and as Lurble and Kerbal come over to begin to enjoy, though you do notice that Kerbal is not having any of the meat. That is when Turble joins as well. And Turble looks at you, Gerbil, and says, you better eat your vegetables.
I think you're confused with what my food eats, but...
It's all fine and well to eat rat, but you do have to eat veggies as well.
Turble.
Turble's quite a bit older than all of you. She has seen a lot, and so she's kind of like the matriarch figure of this colony.
I suppose I can eat some vegetables, but we're out of ketchup.
Well, we'll get ketchup at some point. And she smiles at you and says, thank you, Gerbil, for eating some vegetables. I know that you hate them. And she ladles some vegetables onto your plate. It's like Kermit's gotching Gerbil.
Oh dear. And Gerbil will sort of like eat up the rat and vegetables as quick as possible so that he doesn't, being in the family environment, no one understands him.
It's really difficult. So as you're eating, Turble is talking about kind of the plans for the coming week, and she says, and don't forget, we all are going to, and Merble and Kerbal and Lurble all sigh dramatically. And Turple says, we're going to go visit Yerbal in his new home in the city. We agreed. Okay, remember, all of us, we agreed.
I didn't think we liked Yerbal.
We don't like, and Kerbal picks up and says, everyone hates Yerbal, it's true.
Is this... Wait a minute, is that Yerbal with a soft J or a Y?
Everyone looks to Lurble because he's the only one who can spell, and he says it's with a Y.
Is that the one we like?
No, we like Yerbal with the soft J, and he points to Yerbal with the soft J, who has been sitting there this entire time, very, very quietly eating his veggies and wrap. And he goes, hey.
Yeah, Gerbil likes Yerbal. Like, he's like the only person he does like. He leaves him alone.
Which Yerbal? Yerbal with a J or Yerbal with a Y?
Listen, everyone loves Yerbal and everyone hates Yerbal. It's very simple, Tommy.
That makes perfect sense to us, Tommy.
I hate all of you.
Is this when we start the pronunciation jokes? So, all right, so great.
So Turble looks over at everyone as everyone finishes eating, and she settles her gaze on you, Gerbil, and she says, can I trust that you will be able to prepare yourself for the journey in time?
Gerbil's mind drifts towards his rock of knives. Yeah, I should be all right.
And do you remember when we're leaving?
When you say so.
She squints at you because she's not sure if you're being sassy or if you're being serious, and she decides in the end that it would be best if she assumed that you were being sassy. And she smiles and says, yes, when I say so. Why don't you go out and explore that new dune that you were telling me about, the one that you saw just a few miles away.
Okay.
Take Kerbal with you.
Oh.
Kerbal's like, no.
Kerbal can explore on his own. He's old enough.
I hate exploring. Exploring is dangerous. And Turble looks at both of you and just levels you with a stare.
Gerbil's looking at Kerbal with the I hate you look, you know, just that.
And Kerbal is looking back at you with the please don't take me exploring look, but Turble says you both need to get out of the house way more than you do the cave. I mean, you have to get out of the cave way more. I mean, Gerbil, all you do in your room is you look at that poster and you listen to this awful music that I was just reading the other day. Has some very violent language, and I just want to make sure that you grow up to be a good goblin boy.
I think Gerbil has like a singular record, but he doesn't have a record player, so he just sits there and just scratches his finger around the rim, and you don't actually hear any music. It just sounds awful.
It does sound awful, and that is what Turble thinks that it's supposed to sound like, though. And she looks at Kerbal and she's like, and Kerbal, you're just such a freaking nerd, and I just don't know how either of you are gonna make it in this world if you don't, you know, kind of bring it in a little bit, you know, just a little bit towards the center. So I would really appreciate it, Gerbil, please, for me, if you could take Kerbal out.
I mean, I could, but you know,
Exploring is dangerous.
Kerbal clutches Veronica to his chest and is like, no, please, no danger. But Turbo will not be swayed, and she just continues to look at you.
All right. I'll take Kerbal.
Okay. I also don't trust that smile. Kerbal puts away, he washes his dishes himself, and he puts Veronica in her cage, and he looks at you and he says, okay, where are we going?
Give me 2 minutes, and Gerbil's gonna run back to his room and hide knives in his boots, up his sleeves, at his belt. Basically everywhere he can hide knives. He's tried to make one of them 3/4 length jackets. It didn't last very long. They're not very good for mobility. But he tried to make one sort of like he saw Titties wearing one, and he's tried to copy it, but it just doesn't quite work right.
But you think it looks really cool.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
But it does allow him to hide lots of knives.
Okay. All right.
And then he comes back out like, all right, I'm ready.
Do I need to bring anything for this journey? I have my field note guide, and he pulls out a notebook that says field notes.
We might do a little hunting, so perhaps a pointed stick would be good.
I refuse to hunt. I'm a pacifist.
What?
I refuse to hunt. I have taken a vow of pacifism. I have recently read the works of the great pacifist Ratmar, who is a sentient rat who has written about the plight of his people, and I just don't believe that I can condone violence any longer. I know that as goblins, we are a naturally assumed to be a naturally brutish race, but I just don't think that's true, and I don't think that I can continue to propagate that misconception.
I think I know why Turbo wants me to take you out.
And
Because
Gerbil is
she
aware
punched-
of the phrasing.
Kerbal does not notice your threatening phrasing, and he just kind of like slumps and resigns himself to follow you wherever you want to go.
So, Gerbil is going to take Kerbal a short way across the dunes to another cave, which he happens to know is full of feral, deadly rats.
Okay. Okay. Do you go into the cave first?
Yes, I'm leading.
This way, Kerbal!
All right. How many rats do you think are in this cave?
Oh. You know, like, have you ever been on like a coastal trail or anything like that at night? And you can hear a lot of noise, and there seems to be a lot of movement around, and you're not really sure what's going on. You think the grass is like really blowing around hard or something, and then you turn on a torch, and just the entire floor is covered in rats.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
So
how
there's like 20 rats is what you're saying.
It depends on the volume of the cave, I guess. Yeah, why not?
Okay, there are hundreds of rats. So you go into this cave and there are hundreds of rats. And are they gonna attack you guys? Because they're feral, you just said?
I mean, they might be hungry, but I think they would also be cautious.
Okay. So you walk into this dark cave, and do you have dark vision? Do goblins have dark vision?
Goblins do have dark vision.
Okay. So you begin to walk into this cave, and Kerbal knows that something is up, but he very hesitantly follows you because he doesn't know what else to do. And he's just like, Kerbal, is this some kind of trick?
It's not a trick. I'm taking you to see the rats, because you love rats.
I do really love rats. What kind of rats are these?
hungry.
And as you say that, the rats focus their little beady eyes on you, and one of them lunges at you, Gerbil.
Gerbil will just step aside.
Okay, you step aside, and it lands on Kerbal, who did not step aside, and bites him. And Kerbal's like, ah!
See, look, you've made a friend already.
And as Kerbal screams, the rats become agitated.
Kerbal, run!
As all the rats go still.
Kerbal, run!
Kerbal was just bit by a rat, and he's really freaking out. He's crying.
Oh.
And he falls to his knees. And all of the rats are now coming towards him. As he's just like, Kerbal, why would you do this? This is so... Why did you think that this would go well? Like, what was your thought process? I don't even understand it.
And now Gerbil has teenage guilt. And he's going to try and decide at the last minute that he should save his and not let his family die. I'm sure everyone with siblings has been there. You know, when you realize that you should save your little sister and not let them get incredibly beaten up or anything else like that.
Okay.
And that's what the moment he has. So he like just grabs Kerbal like, come on, you baby! And just like starts running out of the cave.
Okay. I don't really need you to roll. You're able to grab Kerbal. And first of all, I'm not letting this. Gerbil took his brother Kerbal into a cave full of rats. I'm just yes, Andy in the situation.
Yeah, I am totally in agreement.
Whatever terrible thing happens here is Gerbil's fault.
I mean, I would like it if maybe Kerbal lost a leg. I think that's fair. Maybe Kerbal.
Anyone with siblings understands this.
Yeah, I think Gerbil sees that the rats are like swarming him and like maybe chops off Kerbal's leg and throws it to them. Like,
Okay.
come on!
Do you
I
do that?
retract my
Do you
earlier
do
statement.
that? Are you gonna do that? I will let you do that. This is your backstory that we're exploring together. If you want to chop off what is presumably based on the name allocation here, presumably your brother. If you want to chop his leg off, I will let you do that. But that is then something that we are going to have to deal with. So
I'd like to say yes, but Gerbil
Okay.
only does it when he realizes that the leg is already lost.
okay, so you so I'm thinking my brain has fallen out of my ass and I'm not 100% sure what is happening any longer. So you grab Kerbal and you are dragging him. He's frozen, but he kind of his fight response has kicked in, and so he's kind of like thrashing and he's hitting at these rats, and every time he hits these rats he just lets out this anguished cry, and he's like, no, I'm so sorry. And as you're dragging him on the ground by his little tunic that says lover not fighter that he embroidered on it. You're dragging him through these rats, and these rats are just piling on him. Like, you have essentially created for them a bit of like a moving buffet, and they're piling, and he's screaming in agony, and you can hear as they're slicing through his flesh. And you turn around and you see that his left leg has been gnawed effectively. It's been a good nibble sesh.
I know how rats work. That's definitely infected. Kerbal, look over there. There's a mystic portal.
So you, I would just like to, as a quick aside, figure out, I was having a really hard time deciding how I was going to get to the point where your family
Disowned me? Yeah.
leads the backstory, and yet you just so succinctly. So you you chop off Kerbal's leg, and he is he's screaming in agony, and then he goes limp. And he stops screaming.
Gerbil's gonna pick him up and throw him over his shoulder and start running.
You can, and you can feel his blood as it runs down your stomach.
He knows how that works as well.
Yeah.
So Gerbil doesn't have any magic. He's gonna take his jacket and wrap his leg in the jacket so it doesn't bleed out.
Okay. You're able to staunch the bleeding on that leg that you cut off. But as you're doing this, you realize that he has gnaw marks all over his neck, and he's missing an ear and an eye. And
he'll probably live.
His collarbone is missing. And you are able to carry your younger brother. He's only 1 year old. And you're able... Sorry.
That's very old for it. That's very old for a goblin.
You're able to carry your little nerdy brother out of this cave. And you didn't go too far from home. And this journey has taken, surprisingly, it escalated so quickly that you can be back home in about 30 minutes if you want. Like, all in all, this trip took 30 minutes.
Oh, Gerbil has to face his family. He's not just going to run away. He's going to take him in and hope that someone can care for him, because he thinks that Yerbil knows magic. Like, he's not sure, but, like, you know, Yerbil's real quiet.
Okay.
And that probably means he's got a warlock patron or something.
You come into the cave, and the first person you see is Lurble, who is updating the shopping list, and he is like, "Wow, you're back so soon from your thrilling adventure."
Level! It was really thrilling. Rats everywhere. Kerbal, look at Kerbal. He's lost his leg. Get. Do you know magic? Does Yerbil know magic? Yerbil!
As you're saying all this, Lurble looks and he drops the chalk, and all of the blood rushes from his green face, and he turns very pale green, like a seafoam green. And he runs over to Kerbal and Gerbil, what did you do?
We just went to the rat cave. That's all.
Oh my god! And he passes out.
Oh, don't pass out. I need you.
Is the fire still going from earlier?
Yes.
Has anyone answered Gerbil's calls?
Yerbil with a soft J has come out, and he's just looking at you, but he hasn't said anything because he doesn't talk.
I'm gonna go grab his shoulders.
Yerbil! I've always suspected that maybe you know magic. Can you fix Kerbal before I get in trouble?
He looks at you with his very strange eyes and nods once, and then goes over to Kerbal and lays his hands on him, closes his eyes, and you see a blue aura coming out from his fingers as he touches Kerbal's chest, and Kerbal like jolts once and then again, and Yerbil waits, and then he removes his hand and he looks at you, Kerbal, and he says, "You killed him."
But you can fix him.
I can't fix him.
What are you gonna do now?
He looks at Kerbal's terribly mutilated little baby goblin body. And he looks at you and he says, "You should leave. And don't ever come back."
Maybe I'll write letters in the future or something. Thank you for giving me running time, Yerbil. And Gerbel's just gonna turn and flee.
And as you turn to leave, you hear Yerbil go into your room and he rips down your poster. And he rips it up. And he throws it on the fire.
Gerbel's fleeing the cave with a tear in his eye. He only wanted Kerbal to realize that rats were dangerous.
Well, he did. So, okay, that happened. There was a bit of what's it called when you kill your own family? Kinocide. There was some light kinocide today.
It would be fratricide because they're brothers. Holy shit!
Yeah. This was the bad type of fraternization.
Oh my god.
Kerbal, you leave the cave and you are suddenly faced with the wide expanse of this desert that you have grown up in. You've always lived in this cave, always with this family. You all have always gone to Goblin Church every Sunday. You're not strict adherents of Goblin Church, but it's something that Kerbal thought would bring you all together. And as much as you had been chafing against this family, I shouldn't say this family because it was your family. As much as you'd been chasing against your actual literal family, as you were running out of this cave, you see hundreds and hundreds of miles of desert in front of you, and you know of some of the caves and you know of some of the cities nearby, but you are suddenly faced with the reality that you have to find some place to go by yourself.
Yeah, Gerbel is worried that if he goes to any of the cities, then people will find him and try and make him try, probably try and kill him, So Gerbel is going to run to the furthest, most desolate section of desert he can find.
Okay. Change the music because it felt appropriate. You run for hours, and as you're running, you realize that you did not pack anything. You have no water. You have nothing but you didn't even... Did you take your coat? I don't even think you took your coat. You didn't even take your coat.
I left my coat on
You
on
are
Kerbal.
You're wearing your band tee and some fake leather pants, and that's it. You have some bracelets on, and you have some earrings, but that's it. You have nothing. And as you're running for hours and hours and hours, this had all happened in the morning, so you still have hours of sun, and you just feel the sun beating down on you, and you're sweating beneath this black tea, and you can feel your legs chafing as you run, and you feel your lips begin to chafe and then bleed as you flee further and further away. And as the hours pass and the sun is now directly in front of your face and you can't even see any longer, whether from the sweat that's pouring down from your side coiffed hair, sweat is pouring into your eyes, or maybe you're crying, you don't even know, you just know that you can't see, it's getting difficult for you. your feet are finding it difficult to take purchase in this sand, and after a day of running, you fall.
Yeah, I Goebbels sort of realizing that he needs to find shelter, but at the same time can't see, so when he does finally fall, I imagine he's quite dry. I don't think he's got anything to cry, but he's sort of dry crying.
Okay. Yeah, you're like heaving. You're dry heaving from your eyes. You lay in the sand, and as the sun sets and the desert loses its heat so quickly, where just an hour before you had been so hot and sweating, and you could feel your skin blistering from the sun because you also didn't apply any sunscreen, even though Turbo was so always so strict about sunscreen. You didn't apply any sunscreen. As you feel this cool breeze, it is only a relief for a moment, because while the breeze is cooling against your blistered skin, with it brings sand, and this sand rubs itself into your eyes and your nose and your mouth, and you can feel it working its way into these fresh wounds that you have just endured from this day of elemental exposure. And as you are laying there, the sand builds up around you. Do you move as you feel the sand burying you?
Yeah, Goebbels would try and clear his eyes to see, though he knows he wouldn't be the first person to die from exposure.
You rub the sand from your eyes, and you kind of wiggle just enough that your face is above the sand, and as time passes, I need to not look at the chat sometimes. As the wind dies down and eventually the sand stops shifting, and you are kind of just lying there with your head poking out and your body buried, and it's not the sun's rays that wake you up, but the feeling of something grazing near you.
Oh no. Grazing in the desert. It's a vulture.
You open your eyes and you see a camel, and it licks your face.
Oh, but also moisture, yay!
You lick up the camel spit, and it licks your face again.
And I'll rub this moisture into my face a little, just to try and, feel moist again, wet again. Damn, what the word is.
Okay, you do this, and as the camel kind of nudges you with its nose, you see that on the camel's back is a nearly like mummified tiefling that has just slumped on to the camel's back.
I will try and pull myself up and inspect the tiefling.
Oh, the tiefling is so dead. Super dead.
Are there
Super
directions to its secret cave library where Goebbels learns to become a scholar?
No, it's a woman tiefling, and she was wearing like a head wrap to protect against the sun, and a long, dark colored kind of cape, and under it just like very simple clothes, and she has a bag on her that has a couple of gold pieces, a water skin, some provisions, and a camel. That is all.
Goebbels will take some of the water skin and drink not too deeply. He knows how that works, but he'll have a little refreshing drink, and then climb on the camel behind the tiefling woman, trying not to disturb her.
Okay.
Or maybe in front of, so he can see. That might make more sense.
Okay, that makes more sense. So you climb into this tiefling's lap, and she had slumped forward, And you have to kind of like elbow her as you kind of get in there, and you like elbow her, and her body like kind of creaks, and when it creaks, like a dust pops out of like her collar and her sleeves. But you're able to kind of like beat her back until she's like this on the camel. And you see that the reins are in her withered, clenched fists.
I won't take them out of her fist, but I'll just like take them from the front, so like I can just sort of like steer the camel.
Okay, you do this, and
is there like a rocky outcrop or anything like that? Gerbil knows he needs to get into a cave.
the camel moves forward kind of as soon as it feels you have settled, and it feels you grab its reins. When you grab its reins, it kind of pulls it back in the way that it is used to, an indication that it's time to go. And the camel just begins to walk straight ahead. And after a few hours, you see a cave. A nice cave. It's very big. Big enough for a tiefling.
I go there.
The camel leads you directly into the cave. And there's a child. No, I'm joking.
Oh, God.
This is a very nice cave. It's not deep. I don't know why there are so many cave dwellers, but there are. There are a lot of cave dwellers in this sand world. And there's a nice plush bed, and there's a bookcase, and there is candles burning down to the last of the wick. And the camel kind of walks over to a part of the cave that has hay and some like grass that's in planters and a little water basin, and it just stops walking and begins to drink water, and you feel very secure in the knowledge that this is the home of what it was once the home of the tiefling, and it is now the home of the camel.
Great. Perfect. A desolate place that no one knows about. It's not going to be pretty because Gerbil's short and clumsy, but Gerbil's going to try and pull the tiefling from the camel and try and give her, if not burial rites, at least somewhere nice to lay down.
Okay, go ahead. Why don't you just roll me a dex? You could do athletics. No, I'll just say let's just do a dex. Just a straight dex roll. Okay. You are able to, you just push the tiefling off, and she falls to the ground, and you jump down after her, and it is with great skill you are able to kind of finagle her out the cave door, and you find a nice cactus, much like the one that you buried this human woman under, and you throw sand on top of her. You are not able to dig quite deep enough to bury this tiefling, but you do a decent job covering her with sand and lay her to rest beneath this cactus. And at this point, the moon has just begun. The cool air, the breeze has started in, and it helps. It pushes sand over her as well. And Gerbil, as you are in this hotel, surrounded by these strange people that you have been living with, as a hollow hood at the Come On In, and now traveling with this baby, you are remembering instead this last time that you spent with your family before beginning the period of your life in which you lived alone and became known as the goblin to seek for any miscellaneous problems that needed solving. And as the sounds of Kerbal's last cries as you sawed off his leg fade, and the sound of Yerbil's monotone and emotionless voice telling you to leave, the sound of your poster being ripped from the wall. That slowly fades as well back into the familiar comforts of this small room, of which, even though there are many rooms, you all decided to stay in one room. And you hear Aristomachi stretch in her sleep, and you hear the you hear the baby babbling in a strange language that doesn't make sense to anyone. And you hear I like Shaq's baby sounds. You hear the creak of Asuka's armor, maybe as they shift once.
I think Gerbil will sort of stir, look around at his new companions, just kind of go and lock himself in the bathroom.
Hello, Mr. Blobby. Excuse me?
Just gonna go and lock the bathroom door and then get in the bath and go to sleep in the bath.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Poor Gerbil.
And as Gerbil locks himself in the bathroom and goes to sleep in the surprisingly roomy, claw-footed bathtub, that is where we will end today's session. I should have started with Gerbil. I didn't realize that was going to be...
Sorry!
Way to
So
end
we
on a
found
bummer.
the dark backstory, huh?
Way to end on a bummer.
One of us.
Oh! Hi, everyone!
Also, it's terrible, but I'd like everyone to appreciate my picture of Gerbil riding someone else's camel. See, there
Oh
he
my
is,
gosh,
using
I
a
love
corpse
that!
as a
Look at-
sunshade.
I mean, it's effective. It's effective. Anything you can to get that sun off of you.
Yep. Like, he's small, he could just sit underneath, and she's just like, yeah.
God.
Scrap
Start-
feels bad, Gerbil feels bad.
I think we all
Gerbil
feel
should
bad.
feel bad.
I think we all feel bad.
I don't know,
He
Heavenly's
was a
smiling an
vegan, that's
awful
like the
lot.
worst kind of murder.
I was kind of thinking, so what happened was I was like, okay, so, Scrat had given me this backstory where he was like, Gerbil's clan abandoned him and he doesn't really like to talk about it. And I was trying to think, like, I don't want to take away too much agency from my players. So, like, what is kind of the way that I'm going to get the clan to abandon Gerbil without it being something that might potentially be traumatizing that Scrat doesn't want to have in Gerbil's backstory. And so I was kind of going to go for like a Home Alone type of thing where you just slept in and they all went to the city without you. But instead you
I
murdered your
my
brother. So
After leading him to a den of feral rats to teach him a lesson. Oh my god, you're like every one of those creepy child stories, which was like, I took my little brother along to see the sea caves because he was scared of the dark. And now
yes, this is a horror story. And then in the next campaign, it's going to be the ghost of Kerbal.
No, I think Kerbal. No, don't you try to put this off. Kerbal's definitely a lich now. It is the big bad of this campaign.
Well, I mean, I did
with
sort
no
of...
leg, one eye, and a really messed up ear.
I definitely did think that Yerbal was a magic user, so very plausible that some sort of dark design going on there.
I really, when it was just like, are you a magic user? And he nodded, I really expected him to go over to the body and be like, psych, you're fucked.
Psych!
It's like,
Mom is gonna be so pissed!
oh my goodness.
Oh my
I wasn't
goodness.
expecting him to die. I thought you were going to cauterize the wound in the fire.
That's
And
what I
he'd
was
be
also
like,
thinking,
"Wow,
but then when
you
Yerbal
fucked
came
up."
out and started doing magic, I was like, oh, this will be fine.
Yeah, I was prepared to burn the whole cave down. I was like, if he really wants to do the fire route, I guess everyone can just, maybe his clan abandons him through death.
I have a slightly dark question. Because, when Yerba looked up and was like, you killed him, I was kind of like, how long has he been dead? Has Gerbil been carrying a corpse for half
Yes.
of that journey and just
Yes.
not? No, that's
He
so
died.
dark,
He
I
died
love it.
when he went limp and stopped moving. That was when he had died.
Oh my goodness! It's like, oh no.
So he
And then,
died.
like the blood running down like the coat. It's like, you know what that means? Oh shit.
Yeah, he died. Not realizing how difficult of a choice his brother made. The last thing that he remembers in death is Gerbil running away after leaving him in a pit of rats.
Oh my gosh. It's like you're Simba, but you actually killed Mufasa. Like, Scar's out of the
Kerbal
equation.
is-
You literally just killed Mufasa.
Yeah.
Kerbal is 100% the big bad at the end of this campaign.
Just like, I really want to know if like Yerbal just turns around to the rest of his family now that he's left just with a corpse, just like, yeah, Gerbil did it. How believable is that?
It's probably very believable.
Yeah, to be fair, he is the goth child.
He is the weird one, yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for this.
How did I get the most normal backstory? I'm a Jello.
We improved this as well. I apologize for where my brain took this.
Oh,
The stark difference between just between Asuka and Gerbil's backstory in those just like that split. It's just...
Well,
Yeah.
everyone, thank you so much for coming along this week. Sorry for the dark turn at the end. Please check out the links in chat. If you can still bring yourself to support the channel, that would be fantastic. All of the things there. Big thank you to Mage Hand Press and Bird in the Storm Publishing. Please do check them out. They are our official sponsors. And we will see you in 2 hours for Riders on the Storm. And this time next week for more Tooth Tail and Talcum Powder. Until next time, everyone, keep on evoking emotions. We'll catch you later. Bye.